Because of the following special program, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. This is Making Tracks. Here are your hosts, Mark Newbold and Dave Tree.
That's not true. That's impossible.
You're listening to Making Tracks. I'm your host, Mark Newbold. This is a very special episode recorded at Capital Sci-Fi up in Edinburgh. This is a panel that I hosted featuring 5 stars from the original Star Wars trilogy, the prequels and the sequels. So let's dig straight into it. This is me at Capital Sci-Fi. Okay, welcome to the Star Wars New Age panel. I'm going to let everybody pick up their mic to check it's working and introduce themselves. Starting from there you go. You start the running.
Rony Bridges, First Order, Admiral, The Force Awakens.
Arie, Stunt Chewbacca, solo Star Wars story.
Which one do you want? Hello, both. Kirran Shah. I've been working on all 4 Star Wars so far, including Return of the Jedi, top 5, yeah. So many characters, I can't name them now.
Katy Kartwheel, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Solo. Hey.
My name's Jerome, I'm an alcohol. Oh, sorry. Wrong music. Jerome Blake, Star Wars prequel trilogy, Fifth Element, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, any motorway service station doing here in Glasgow. Nice to meet you. And my microphone is called Queen. Microphone.
Perfect. So you get gags. I love it. So I'm going to start as we did just a moment ago, Ronnie. So, and it's going to be a nice easy chat, so don't worry, there's no deep dive questions. When you came into the saga, into Force Awakens, how did that role first come around? How did that role come to you?
It came about, I was in London doing another film with Judi Dench, Children Peter, and a friend of mine is the first assistant director of Star Wars, Tommy Gorley. So I finished filming and I knew he was doing Star Wars, so I was actually his wife. And I said, can you ask Tommy how I would run this? So she said, send your stuff to the casting director, tell her you know Tommy and I. So I did that, I just emailed him and stuff. And it was only about 10 minutes later I got this email, I didn't want to open it up, right? And then from the casting director said, that's a pity, you're too late, all the casting will be done, etc, etc, etc. But we'll keep you in mind. So I thought it was a kiss off. But I noticed Tommy had been copied into it. About 10 minutes later, another email that said, congratulations, you're in, find with you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock for work. So it's not what you know, it's who you know. Yeah. So it's a believable way in, but one major thing is that he got me in his background, which is somewhere 120, 130 pounds a day. But when I got there, he told me I'd been featured as the only First Order Admiral. So I thought, great, so keep it quiet. Right? So the first day we filmed the big General Hux scene, and there was like 7 First Order officers lined up at the end of that day's filming. And the lady went up and said to the first one, sorry, you're no longer required after today. And he said, hey, I'm booked for 5.5 days. No, you're not, you're only penciled in. But after the next one, the same thing. He said, I've booked bed and breakfast for 5 days and I've got to pay for it. You should know, you're only penciled in. So I was at the end of the line thinking, that's it, it's all over. So I got to the end of the line and said, Ronnie, you're staying. They all told me, I said, how long are you staying? He said, look at his sleeve, he's an admiral. Yeah? So, but there was one thing when I was on Children Fever, one of the camera grips, which was a very important job, a guy called Nathan, right? He was working in Children Fever. And I was going for my lunch in Star Wars and Penguins, and I walked past the caterers, and there's Nathan with the marigold gloves on washing dishes. And I said, Nathan, what are you doing with a camera grip? He said, shut up. He said, 7 days a week, 200 quid a day catching pants. So in essence, the dishwasher of Star Wars was making more money than me. That's all was in it.
It's not working out too, like you said. How did you get involved with Star Wars for the time?
So for me, it came out of the blue. I was working in health clubs only 3 years ago, and I had a phone call from a friend who he used to go to uni with. I hadn't spoken to him for about 10 years, and he called me and said that one of his friends was in the movie industry and was looking for someone over 6'10". I just happened to fill that bill, and I thought, well, you know, why not take the risk and let's go and see what it's for. So the following week, I went down to Pinewood Studios. At that point, even when I was there, still didn't know it was for Star Wars. Although there was a little thing that gave it away when I walked through the building that said Lucasfilm. So at that point, I kind of had an idea. I met up with Toby Heffman, the first director for Solo, and he said, "Oh, we just want you here for the morning. We're going to put you through some tests and see how you get on." So I went with the stunt team, and we just did some fighting for the morning. I did well enough, and they said, "Right, we want to keep you all week." So what was going to be just a 2-hour audition ended up being a full 6-day audition in the end, which included fights, jumps, rolls. I did some big falls from about 60 foot, basically checking that I had the ability to do it. And at the end, the stunt coordinator came up to me and said, "We'd like you to be stunt Chewbacca." And I was completely taken aback, and I haven't looked back since. You know, it's been a fantastic experience. 2.5 years of it now. It's been fantastic.
And when you realised it was Star Wars, what did your brain do?
Oh, wow. You know, you don't say no to Star Wars. You know, it's a no-brainer. I had a good job, and potentially it was a bit of a risk for me to take. You don't know if directors are going to like you after the first couple of weeks. You don't know if you're going to stay fit and healthy. You know, obviously, doing stunts, it can be quite dangerous. But I thought, you know, it's Star Wars, it's the movies. I'm going to go do it. I'm going to try my best.
Awesome. Kirran, same question. When you first came into the site, what was your entry point?
My entry point, well, I thought it was going to be from New Zealand on Hobbit, and I had lunch with Richard Taylor from Beta Workshop, and I asked him, "Do you know who's doing creatures or who's making creatures on Star Wars?" And Richard went, "Well, I think there's a new guy on the block called Neil, but I don't know anything about him or anything." And I went, "Okay, right, fine, Neil is the name I could remember." I came back to London from The Hobbit, and I was working at Capital Studios on doing a fitting for a commercial with animated extras. And to Nick Williams, I went, "Do you know who this guy is? The new guy on the block on Star Wars, doing creatures." And he went, "Kirran is your mate, Neil Scandler from Creature Workshop from the 90s. No, right, Neil. Okay, brilliant." I came home, left a message on his mobile, put the phone down, and within a second my phone started ringing, and it was Neil Scandler going, "Right, Kirran, you want in?" "Yes, I want in. You're not going away on any other sagas, or have you finished with Lord of the Ring and Hobbit sagas?" And I went, "Yeah, I've done them, and I'm going to be in London and I'm not going anywhere." And he went, "You're in." And that's how I got into this new Star Wars.
Awesome. Katie, same question. How did you get involved?
I got involved through circus performing, because I'm a circus performer, and I was doing a lot of training in East London, and the director of that circus training centre, Aircraft Circus, said, "Oh, you know, you do stilts, don't you, Katie?" And I was like, "No, I don't do stilts, actually." But so I learned in 2 weeks. They needed a short stilt walker, and I went in, and much like Arie, I had no idea it was Star Wars either. So I kept going back, getting called back in. I still didn't know. Brian Herring found it absolutely hilarious. He was like, "You really don't know what it's for, do you?" I was like, "No, I really don't." And when I found out, I was just a bit overwhelmed, to be honest with you, because it was a really big movie, and I think I didn't quite realise how big it was until it came out and I saw it in the cinema, and I was like, "Wow, that was really big." So yeah, I went in as a stilt walker, and then Rio in Solo was very acrobatic, so I got a chance to use all my aerial skills, flying around and stuff. Yeah, so it was really...
And just to reiterate, in case people don't realise, when you watch the see Han and Boyega and those characters walking into Mazzy's castle. We see a great big red, tall robot come walking out. That was it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is amazing because a lot of people thought it was an effect. Like
A lot of
CGI effect.
They did, you're right, yeah, a lot of people were like, oh gosh, is that actually a real thing? And totally everything is real. I did have a line on me, not to protect me, in case I fell on Harrison Ford. But luckily we didn't need to use the line, but it was there.
So you have lines in Star Wars.
See what
I
we
did
did
well.
See what we did there.
Same question for you, sir. You played quite a few roles across certainly the prequel trilogy.
7 roles, yeah. I have to say, I had to empathise with Katy, overhearing that remark about Brian Herring, who I worked with on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There's a quality about Brian's character that if he asks you a question like, you really don't know what this is, do you? That's a terrifying moment. He's a scary person. there's a dangerous sense of humour. Anyway, my introduction to Star Wars was simply because I worked on The Fifth Element. And Nick Duggan, who was the creature effects supervisor on that movie, and I stayed in touch after the film. We spoke on phone occasionally. And one July, he phoned me and we were just chatting, and he said, oh, I'm doing this new Star Wars picture. And I said, well, congratulations, that's fantastic. Blah, blah, blah. And we carried on talking about his family and his business up in Cumbria. And then at the end of the conversation, almost the last thing he said before he hung up was, would you like to be in it? If there was a subdivision of time shorter than a nanosecond, that's how long it took me to say yes. And unlike Arie and his 6-day audition process, yeah, mine took less than a second. So I think I've got a flight on. But that was just to, I was going to be a couple of background characters. But as soon as I got to Leavesden, which is where in those days where they shot Phantom Menace particularly, I found out who the casting director was and where her office was, and introduced myself and let her know that I had done theatre work in the past and I was capable of delivering lines and not stumbling over them. And in very short order, she called me back over to her office and said, would you like to do a screen test for George Lucas? And that's when the process started. Myself, Silas Carson, who played New Gunray, Keanu Mundi, and Lockdog, and Mark Warren, a television actor you probably recognise. For some reason, he didn't end up in the movie. I don't know if that was his choice or theirs. But the three of us did if you remember, the submarine sequence from Phantom Menace. That was our audition piece for George Lucas. And individually, I knew Mark socially before that, but we never worked together. Individually, all of us have clearly identified this as an opportunity. So here we are sitting in a plywood mock-up of the submarine, and in comes George Lucas and introduces himself, and so we're ready, and then he says, where are your scripts? And all of us had individually just made the choice, big opportunity, learn it. So, and if you remember, that sequence was about 5 minutes long, and we'd all made that choice. And as a result of that, as I said, Silas got 3 characters, I ended up with 7. Mark went off to make far more money making television programs than we did, but I'm happy that 20 some odd years later, in fact, 20 years anniversary this year, Phantom Menace. So my involvement with Star Wars is now 22 years from start to now, and it's still a very enjoyable roller coaster. So I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. I'm going to start that again because I would like you to tell people the story of your first order haircut.
Can you say that again?
Your first order haircut.
Oh yeah. On my very last day, You'd wear a secrecy cloak anytime you were upset. And I was still wearing a secrecy cloak with my uniform on, and I'm sitting having lunch before I go to the wardrobe and everything else like that. So I'm having my lunch before I go take the wardrobe and picked up and back into central London. And two people descended on me without even asking. I started to cut my hair. Whoa, do you mind? I'm eating my lunch and I'll wrap anyway. Said, oh no, you must have signed something. I said, I sign stuff every day, I don't even read it, but I'm actually signing papers every single day. Said, no, your haircut is branded. You're not allowed to have it that way again, the way we styled it, so once you change it before you leave Penguins. Crazy. I said, but wearing a hat all the time. And he said, oh, it doesn't matter, you can CGI'd. It was the hat off and the hat on, so it doesn't matter, but your hair's branded. You cannot wear it that way again, the way we cut it and styled it. But one wee brief thing, when I was in the Starkiller base, right, with the uniform on, now you put that uniform on, I don't know, everybody, it goes to your head a wee bit. And the costume designer came up, right, at a break, and he hold up and he said, I've got to tell you this, you're a credit to the whole production of Star Wars event. What about that? He said, you never get out of character between shots. He said, we stopped shooting, taking their helmets off, people losing your uniform and everything. You're constantly in character. We wish everyone was like you. I didn't have the heart to tell them. I got that uniform on and I thoroughly believed I was in charge of that Starkiller base. I could kill people, I could blow off planets. It went straight to my head, you know. I needed therapy after it.
I love the fact that Jennifer Aniston had the Rachel haircut, you've got the Rony. I think that's really cool. There must be people in Glasgow all around the country asking for your hair.
I'm sorely tempted to get a hair done just to annoy them.
You should do it.
Because the pencil be into the last one and I haven't hair yet, so I might just do it.
Hello, I'm Warwick Davis, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
Arie, now you're doing stunt work and physical activity, quite hefty stuff. What was the most interesting or most unique move that you did as Chewie in Solo?
I probably think it was the moment where Chewie has to jump off the train. So it was the set piece that we were working on was about 40, 50 feet up in the air, and we had to jump out of the way of one of the vehicles that was coming through, and I just had to basically jump off and then spin myself around and hit the side of the train. Which when you're up there and then you're 7 foot above where you're actually standing, it's quite a scary thing to do. But I enjoyed doing it after a while. We did quite a lot, and it's probably one of the first times you've probably seen Chewie really, sort of express himself and things like that. Obviously the fight scenes as well, they were quite fun to do as well, because you've never really seen Chewbacca fight to that extent before.
Well, that's the point, because now there's more than one person behind the mask. You bring your skills, you experiences, different people bring their, it all amalgamates into one character. So how seamless is it? Even when you're watching it, you know what you did, but I mean, when you watch it and stand back a bit, are you pleased with how seamlessly it all works together?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I spent a lot of time watching Jonas and how he moves, and I'm sure he did the same with Peter, because obviously we don't want to ruin the experience for the fans out there and the people who are watching the movie. So I sat there and watched Jonas, and he played obviously it was a younger Chewbacca for Solo, so there were slightly different mannerisms in there, slightly different movements involved. So Jonas obviously gave his own twist to it, which meant I then had to follow that. I mean, it was an enjoyable experience and great to do.
Brilliant. Now, Jerome, am I correct in saying that you worked on one of the Ewok television movies?
Sorry, can you repeat?
The Ewok TV movies, were you involved in those?
No, I was not in the TV movies.
So your first would have been Force Awakens?
My first Star Wars movie would have been The Return of the Jedi.
Right, okay. So, what role did you play in that? What character were you in that one?
I played one Ewok character. The character is called a number, not a name, so I don't know, I can't remember the number. But what happened with me was when I was on set, and because I've been doing stunts since way long before that, and really heavy stunts and everything. And Peter Diamond was the stunt coordinator on the movie. So he went, Kirran, I'm pulling you with the stunts now, and you're going to be doing stunts for the e-books. And I ended up doing the guy, the stunt on the e-book on the speeder bike, did really high falls, in their village when they were falling all over the place and all that, battle scenes and all that stuff. I did quarrels, swinging from one vine to another tree and stuff like that. In the battle scenes, I did quite a few high falls, he was getting killed or whatever in the fight scenes. So I ended up doing a lot of different e-books with different stunts.
How enjoyable was that? Because obviously that was the third chapter, it was the big wrap-up. Was there a sense of excitement on set that you're coming to the end of this trilogy?
Yeah, it was really, because I think at that point was like, okay, this will be the last one and nothing more is going to happen in the Star Wars. And we were like going, yeah, we'll be the last people, to do this. And then in 2000, Lucas went, oh yeah, I'm doing a few more again. And then, the new lot came out. But yeah, there was a good sense that, yeah, we'll never come back to the Star Wars again.
Yeah. Katy, now, like Arie, your part in Rio was part of a collaborative effort. So again, similar question really, how pleased were you with the final on-screen version of Rio? Because there's Favreau's voice, there's Lucasfilm, Wyland's work, there's your work. How pleased were you with the final product?
Oh yeah, I was really, really pleased with it. I think Rio's an amazing little blue monkey mole thing. The only thing that maybe was a little bit disappointing was that Rio kind of ends up pretty much bald. But when we were out in the Dolomites, the Italian mountain range, which was like just stunning, Katy Cherry was the hair person, and she was responsible for Rio's hair, of which he obviously doesn't have any now, but he had this whole blue beard and all this hair around here, and she spent hours, just putting his hair, making it just right, roughing it up a little bit. Because at one point Neil Scanlan said, it's too neat, it looks like a wig, you need to make this guy rough and ready and nasty looking. Because that was that element of Rio, of being, quite a hard nut and not sweet and cute. Which I thought he was really cute, but he wasn't. He was actually quite tough and a really good chef.
Yes.
So all the scenes that I shot with Rio, they all played. It was amazing. That's what I really found amazing when I was watching it. It's like, wow, every scene we did's in there. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes
that's not a common thing, is it?
No, that doesn't. Sometimes you do scenes you're like, oh, they cut that's been cut. But it was all there, and I thought, wow. And it just took me straight back, remembering everything and all the props and the campfire I loved. Because although we initially shot that in the Dolomites, really icy, kind of groove, it was actually, what do you call them, the World War things you walk.
Trenches.
Sorry?
Trenches,
thank you. Trenches. They were actual World War trenches up in the Dolomites from World War I that they used. And I had to leap around in Rio's outfit, but it was icy.
Yeah.
So it was, and it was really heavy, and I couldn't see at that point either. And I was meant to be flipping spatulas and, this really great galactic chef juggling and being really nifty. I couldn't see a thing, so obviously it looked quite clunky at that point. But I had an animatronic head, and the eyes were glass, and I was really hot, and I was with the main characters for the first time. So with Willie and Alden, Arie and Tandy, and obviously Chewie was there as well. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in a campfire scene with these amazing actors.
Yeah.
I got used to it in the end, and and they actually cut my eyes out in the end so I could see.
That's always a help.
Yeah, but I think for Rio he did need to see, because he was doing a lot of stuff with his hands, and when he was flying there was a lot of button pressing, and I had to fly from one seat to the next, which was a proper stunt moment, because Yeah, it was, because there was a drop down because they were filming from down, and the ship was like on this moving stage, and you had to climb up steps to get to it, and amazing.
Happy days.
Very, well, not always happy. Sometimes it was really hard work.
What I want to know is very hugging your two arms. Where are they currently now?
So my arms were the lower arms of Rio, and the top arms are CGI'd, and we tried all sorts of things with those arms. We tried puppeteering them, but it's very hard to move about when you've got another two people behind you. You can't really, and he had to be very nifty and acrobatic, so it's such a shame I didn't work. But Lynn and Claire were really heavy, to be honest with you, so I was quite pleased that that didn't work. But no, we did some great work together as a team.
Yes, teamwork makes the dream work. Jerome, what was the most out there, weirdest, unique moment of your work on Reels? Something that you look and go, I can't believe I'm telling people this hand or how we made it work. Just something a bit outlandish.
On screen or just generally?
I'll leave it to you, sir.
If you're familiar with the character Arie Tar, who notionally probably weighed about 300 kilos, one afternoon while we were waiting around to do something else in front of the camera, there was a moment when Arie Tar decided to go for a ride in a golf cart, driving the golf cart. And somewhere in the world, I don't know where, because obviously we weren't allowed to take anything away with us, somewhere in the world there is a Polaroid and there is footage of Arie Tar driving a golf cart like he was Lewis Hamilton. That was a fun afternoon.
That should have been on a top straight. I think that was one that we've got. How long have we got? 5 minutes. I'm going to open the questions to the floor. If anybody's got a question, stick your hand up. There we go. What's your question, sir?
It's the actor, I don't know your name, please, Chewbacca. I was wondering, because I know that Peter Mayhew sustained injuries, whether it's ill health. Have you taken any particular precautions in terms of exercise routine to sort of preempt any physical injuries you might sustain?
I mean, for myself, I always keep myself fit and healthy anyway, so especially when I'm not working on a film, then I'm in the gym 5-6 times a week. I'm making sure I stay fit and healthy, and especially with being tall, you can succumb to back problems. So it's ensuring that you work on your core strength and work on strengthening your back. So obviously you don't succumb to some of those injuries later on in life. And also when you're doing the stunts as well, it does help if you're fit and healthy. Because if you are throwing yourself about and you're hitting walls and falling off things, if you're not training, then you can get yourself injured quite badly.
Any more questions?
Yeah. I got one for Kirran. You've done a lot of stunt work, you've done a lot of roles in movies like Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and Arie, there you go on. Out of all those roles, which one is your favourite that you've played?
There are so many favorite things going on. I mean, Narnia, of course, Edinburgh. The story with Edinburgh was really wanted to make him really, really evil. Really, where I wanted kids to cry every time they saw me on the screen. But Andrew just wouldn't let me go that far. He kept pulling me back and back and back. But I really enjoyed playing that character, especially with Tilda. Working with Tilda was really brilliant on that one. Dark Crystal, doing a walking, running, stunt train. And Jim found out that my background, originally I came from my mask and movements background in theatres. And once he found that one out, even right there said, I'm going to keep throwing different characters to you, and if you can pull them off, I'll be happy. So on Dark Crystal, I ended up doing quite a lot of different characters apart from doing Jane. That was a really good movie to work on, and it got me back into this kind of creature characters. I call them my mask and movement characters. It got me back into that world again. Legend was another one that I really enjoyed working with Ridley Scott, playing a plunder. Originally the plunder was going to be played by two actors. to begin with, beginning with the helmet was going to be me, and when the helmet came off, it was going to be Danny Di Vinto who was going to take over from me. And then suddenly, a couple of weeks into pre-production, and really went, tell you what, Kirran, I want you to do the complete character now. And Danny, unfortunately, I'm going to take Danny out, and you are going to take over completely. And I was going, yes, brilliant. Thinking what I wanted, and it was really, really good to really prepare for that character. Now going into, started giving him an history, present, and what his future was going to be, and really enjoyed working on that. But yeah, there's a few more. I'll be here all day talking about that.
Any more questions? We've probably got time for one more. Yeah.
This is a question for the panel in general. When you consider taking roles in these various sort of science fiction and fantasy movies, were you aware of sort of the loyal and vociferous fan bases, and did that play any influence in your decisions to take these roles?
The funny thing is, when you're playing creatures, either you're going to be in prosthetics or anatomic mask or any different kind of mask. Like Katy said, we are mostly working blind. But with the fans, the hardcore fans know actually who you are. They know more about me than I know more about myself, put it that way. And it's really surprising that there are so many people, especially since I started doing conventions, 10, 15 years ago, started doing that and finding out that I got so many people following me, people who know me, and it's like, wow, I didn't really plan for this, but now I'm happy that there are people who do recognize me. One reason actors want to become actors is because, or people who want to become actors is because the truth is, we all call for recognition in some way or another, and concert performers are mostly unrecognizable, or so they've been, but in the last 20 years, more people do know who they are, what they look like, and where they can be found as well.
Very quickly, because we're running out of time, Jerome, your experience with the fandom, what is your experience with the fandom been? Have you enjoyed it?
As I said earlier on, it's a 22-year roller coaster journey, which I'm still on, and constantly, doesn't matter what type of event it is, doesn't matter where in the world it is, I always have different conversations with people. I learn, actually more interestingly for me, I think I listen to their stories and have, get their take on what things have transpired as a result of their enjoyment of Star Wars and the other kinds of, movies in that genre. And I think that's the key to it. If you keep an open mind and an open heart, you always will have an enjoyable and sometimes educational experience coming to these things.
Okay,
thank you.
Can you repeat the question, please?
What has your experience of fandom been? Has it been everything you thought it would be? Has it been better or worse? Or
Fandom.
Fandom, the fans, us.
Yeah, lovely.
The fandom menace.
I had this conversation with Arie actually. Are you trying to be funny?
Yeah.
Did it work? Was he funny? Because we're sitting next to each other on the forecourt, as we say out there. We had this conversation earlier, didn't we? When I did, because I did Force Awakens first and then Last Jedi, I still wasn't really up for doing any conventions or anything at that point. I didn't really know what it was all about. I'd never actually been to one, okay? So, and I wasn't really a Star Wars fan before I was in Star Wars. Now I'm a massive fan, as well as having been in it, because I really appreciate the art and the hard work and talent with all the departments. I find it absolutely breathtaking now. But then when I was in Solo, I was like, maybe, actually I started to realise that Star Wars has got a massive fan base, and by coming to Comic-Cons and conventions, you're actually getting something back, because people want to hear about it, and they want to hear, your experiences, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it now.
Good lady made that decision.
Thanks.
Same question, Arie. What is your opinion of you and fandom being?
Well, I was a big sci-fi fan before I got involved in this, so I knew that there was a huge fan base, and I knew there was a lot of passionate people out there. However, now I've started to do these events, I've actually been blown away about how passionate people are, and it's fantastic to see. You know, there's so many nice people out there that just want to know about what you've done in the films, how certain things have been done, and I just love chatting to people, to you guys. So if any of you are free later, feel free to come over and have a chat. You know, I'm quite happy to talk you through some of the things that have happened on Solo and what I've done since then, because it's just great to chat and meet new people.
Where else do you get a chance to do that? Final question, Rony.
It's just the whole Star Wars thing is a big family, one big happy family, and it's a wonderful thing to be part of. I know people will give it a right arm and actually created in Star Wars, but it should be fortunate that we can travel the world to go to conventions. And we have to go to Lithuanian things, and we're doing a Q&A in Lithuania, and people are asking virtually the same questions about the Katy Kartwheel and this or that, you know. So it's wonderful, it's 5.5 days on it, but to me it's never ending. You always go to conventions, you meet people, they know more about you and other things you've done than you know yourself, you know. But one major thing is immortality, that's it. I was really producers all that, go cricket. Which is wonderful. Immediately, I'm the only guy that's legal, a lot of people do themselves in public.
We're not going to solve that. Thank you, everybody. Big round of applause.
Right finish.